Pod with Meg. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Meghane Lex, and welcome to my podcast, Pod with Meg. Get it? Me? And today I have a very special guest. He considers himself an anti, but you will see just what. Please introduce yourself, Michael.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Dr. Broukhim. I'm a holistic psychiatrist. I'm also about to start rabbinical school as well.
Cool. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that is?
Oh, to become a rabbi.
Oh, very nice. Okay, very cool. Well, congratulations on starting that journey. And thank you so much for coming today or showing up.
Yeah.
Please tell me, where are you from, Michael?
I'm from Newport Beach originally.
Okay.
Yeah, born and raised in Orange County, and was gone for like 9 years from Southern California for med school and residency. I moved to LA in 2020.
Very cool. How would you compare LA to Newport Beach in Orange County?
Um, well, Newport Beach these days feels like a vacation.
Mhm.
It's just a lot slower, a lot more parking. Yeah, it's just a slower pace of life.
Mhm.
I often compare LA to New York City because
Oh,
I lived in New York City before, and in some ways, I wish I haven't been to New York City because the nightlife is way better. But
it is
we got beaches though. But
for sure. Yeah, I think the people in New York just have different, they don't care as much. So I feel like if people cared less in LA, we would have way more fun.
yes,
So I read that you consider yourself the anti-psychiatrist.
anti-psychiatrist.
Okay, yes, anti-psychiatrist. Could you please tell me more about that and what that means?
I love being a psychiatrist.
Mhm.
I think I love what I'm doing more than any other psychiatrist in the world. And what I see in psychiatry is a lot of people who are on multiple medications, they have multiple diagnoses, and they've been in the system for years, if not decades. And either they're not enjoying life or they're just stable. Like they're not living out their dreams, again, not finding purpose or meaning, and not feeling good physically, often from all the side effects from the medications that they're taking.
Mhm. Yes, I completely agree. I feel like sometimes people have an adverse reaction to getting medicated, and sometimes they find their wellness journey and their healing comes from just within and doing natural remedies. So, can you tell me a little bit about how you started psychiatry and why you love it so much?
Yeah, I was in medical school, and I always kind of knew I was interested in engaging like alternative medicine or like integrative medicine. But during medical school, I had such a hard time figuring out like which part of medicine I would enjoy. And then I had my psychiatry rotation. And after 2 days, I fell in love with it.
Mhm.
The opportunity to, out of all the specialties, it's the one specialty where you can really get to know your patients, hear their story, and they come to you in a place where they're really struggling. Sometimes they're at the lowest moment of their lives, and you get to witness them transform into, at times, now living their dreams. And I learned a lot from my patients, and it's an honor and a privilege to be able to be there for people in that way.
Yeah, definitely. How would you kind of describe what it means to be a psychiatrist versus a therapist?
It depends. I mean, for me, I get to prescribe medications, I get to diagnose medical conditions. It can be very intellectually fascinating, can be really complex. And then there's a therapy part. I do therapy with patients,
Mhm.
and it's balancing out prescribing and like diagnosing medical issues, and then being there as a way to like guide them through very difficult life situations, spiritual situations as well, existential crises. It's a job where I feel like I have a whole array of tools I can use, which makes me feel very effective with the patients I work with.
Yeah, I really like how you say you learn from your patients. And I was wondering, what is something you've noticed when it comes to someone's healing journey? Like, how do you feel is the best way people can kind of heal from their, whether it be trauma or like, how would you say is your typical healing journey? The way you kind of lead
I,
that.
I think the most important thing that I've learned from my patients is that it's so important to have a good relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned that the way you narrate your life, the way you narrate your own participation in it, and also the way you narrate others, the way you tell your own story matters significantly. And that's where I usually like to work with patients. Change the way you tell the story of your life and how you're participating in it.
Mm-hmm.
And when people change that, so many other things improve. People have less symptoms of depression, less symptoms of anxiety. They're not as focused on the past anymore because they've changed the meaning of what moment to moment means. A lot of people narrate their life currently based upon what's happened to them in the past. So now I try to help patients talk about, like, well, what do you want your future to look like? How do you want to be talking to yourself? How do you want to treat yourself? How do you want others to be treating you? And once you address that, a lot of things improve.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. I definitely believe that happiness is within, and also being present always helps. And I think that when you know yourself, you know that no matter what, external factors aren't going to change how you're always going to feel inside. There are ways that you can feel happy by external factors quickly, but in the long run, it definitely helps to get to the root of who you are. So, how would you kind of differentiate your traditional or your untraditional practices from traditional practices?
I focus on lifestyle changes. So I try to help people with their diet, getting more movement in their life, also improving their sleep hygiene. I also use a lot of supplements to help people with sleep, with anxiety, with mood issues, to calm their nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And I do work with a lot of different practitioners who know how to work with certain things that I don't. So I work with functional medicine doctors, really try to see if there's other possible causes of their symptoms, such as Lyme disease, mold, or other types of infections.
Okay. Yeah, it's very interesting. And do you believe, I mean, obviously, but do you really believe that health is wealth? Do you believe in that saying?
Absolutely, both physical and mental.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the mental, if you are not present and constantly thinking about, the past, or consistently like worrying about your life, you're just not really enjoying what life has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Physically, if you're having a hard time walking, getting sick often, difficulty with deep breathing because you don't really practice working your breath, your quality of life is going to be significantly worse than someone who's healthier.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I've also read that you help people with ketamine assisted psychotherapy. Could you explain to us how that works?
Yeah, so if you live in Los Angeles, you can see there's a lot of ketamine clinics
Mhm.
out there. From my clinical experience, I think it's more effective long term, and you get more bang for your buck when you are doing psychotherapy with ketamine. And so
Mhm.
the way that looks like in our clinic specifically is we'll often have patients hooked up to an IV, or they may get a ketamine injection, and they might have their own internal experience with the fat for about half hour to 45 minutes. And then the second hour, we're doing psychotherapy to integrate what their intention was. So like a common one might be, I want to improve the way I relate to myself,
Mhm.
or I just want to worry less in general. We kind of focus on that intention in the second hour.
Okay. And what do you think it is about ketamine that helps people kind of release what's going on inside them?
Ketamine seems to have some psychedelic properties.
Mhm.
A lot of the psychedelics have shown that they can increase neurogenesis, so new neuronal connections are being made. It seems to change the way you perceive the world.
Okay.
So if someone perceives the world through a very depressing, anxious lens, it kind of provides like a restart to view the world in a different way, including the way you view yourself
Okay.
and problems.
Yeah. And it's very interesting you say kind of reset and it changes the way you see the world because I do a lot of yoga and at the end of yoga they talk about how it's like a rebirth. And I do believe that like cells are always regenerating to get better and I feel like we should always regenerate ourselves to get better and sometimes we do need a reset to start from ground zero rather than just keep depleting ourselves.
Yeah, it's great that you highlight that. There's a lot of ways to reset your brain and your mind, and it doesn't just have to be through psychedelics.
Can you tell us more about those ways we can reset the brain?
Um, Really meaningful experiences with other people, it can really change the way you view yourself. The most common way I see that is people who, let's say, most of their lives they hated themselves, and then they meet the person that they're going to marry.
Mhm.
If you see how that person narrated their life before they met their partner and afterwards, it's a huge difference. And so when you have people in your life that see the value in you, like your authentic value, That's one of the best treatments we have as humans. And I think that's what's prevented us needing to be on psychiatric medications and engaging in so much therapy these days, is because we're way more lonelier now, especially with cell phone use and technology. That's a lot harder to recover from mental health issues.
Yeah. And what do you think are some stigmas in the mental health world that we should highlight?
The one stigma is, it comes up a lot, where patients will come in and they'll ask me, like, well, do you think I'm crazy?
Oh.
I think because the mental system hasn't done the best job in really treating people, people view mental health conditions as being chronic. And there's so many publicized cases of people kind of losing their mind, that if someone hears that someone like has mental health issues, they get worried that, like, oh, is that person going to like freak out and like do something horrible that's going to ruin their reputation or their family's reputation or something like that. So people can recover. A lot of people with mental health issues are not crazy. A big part of it is they're trying to find a different way to engage their mind in the world. And there's a lot of great treatments out there. So it doesn't have to be a chronic issue.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier how people who meet the love of their lives or their future partner, person they're going to marry, the way they narrate their lives changes. So I assume you do, well, I also read that you do individual and couples therapy. How would you kind of describe couples therapy versus individual? And do you think a lot of couples should seek individual therapy, or together can be better?
It's kind of complex.
Hmm.
I typically recommend couples therapy when there are breakdowns in communication.
Okay.
So if people are talking about important things about the relationship or about life, and they keep on like yelling at each other, and they can't really find a place of respectful agreement, then I'd recommend couples therapy. I would say couples therapy is going to be more effective when both people know how to regulate their emotions.
Okay.
If they don't know how to regulate their emotions, then I'd highly recommend individual therapy. And if someone's really insecure and very dependent on their partner for everything, like every aspect of their life,
Yes.
they need individual therapy to help develop a world outside of their partner.
Hmm. And how do you think are ways that someone can kind of get out of the codependent bubble?
You got to get out there in the world and meet new people. It's about really finding out what other passions you have in your life.
Hmm.
It's developing the confidence to go out in the world and explore what type of value you have to other people. And one of the easiest ways to kind of get people to like engage new people in a fun way and getting out of their head is improv.
Oh, cool.
So I recommend a lot of patients take improv classes. If they have a certain faith, I really recommend them to go to their respective place of worship, men's groups, women's groups. If you're codependent, you go to CODA, which Codependence Anonymous. So I just really try to get people to meet new people in a variety of settings.
Yeah. And do you think someone could be codependent without being insecure, or do you think they're both mutually exclusive?
I think there's a high correlation between lack of confidence and being codependent. And I would say there's also high correlation of social anxiety and being codependent as well. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of factors that can contribute to it. One of the biggest dangers of codependency is a couple kind of burning themselves out. It can be a lot for either person to mean so much to the other. And as human beings, we're very social creatures, and typically we like to be around larger groups of people. Obviously, if you're suffering from an anxiety disorder, that you need to treat that so you feel more comfortable with people. But I think COVID really showed that we're very social beings, and our happiness is beyond just being connected to one person. We are born to be connected to multiple people.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How would you describe your experience with therapy if you've ever had therapy?
I started therapy because it was kind of recommended to become a psychiatrist. And, I've had mixed results in therapy. I feel like some therapists I worked with didn't really challenge me. It was more like a supportive ear, which I don't think can be helpful. But like the therapists who I've really enjoyed working with are the ones who really challenge me, and they help me reflect on whether or not I'm living to my values, I'm living to my potential, and that I'm not hiding behind anything. So I would say my experience in therapy and also coaching, actually I have a coach instead of a therapist these days. I really try to kind of like a trainer, the way you imagine someone is like a physical trainer for someone. I really try to challenge my patients to take more responsibility over their lives, and also show them that they're capable of a lot more than they think they are. So I'll kind of be at the edge of being compassionate, but also like really challenging them.
Yeah, I really like how you said that because what has helped me kind of take control of my life is remembering that life is coming from you, not at you. And I think when people kind of take control of their life, it's a lot easier because a lot of things we can't control if we really realize it and give ourselves that power. So I really like how you said that. This might be a random question, but how would you describe the way sometimes, because we did speak about couples, how women interact when it comes to therapy versus how men do? Because I feel like a lot of times people believe that men are not as vulnerable as women tend to be. Do you believe that, or do you think that's a
You're saying that men aren't as vulnerable?
men don't like to be as vulnerable as women do, or aren't as open to being vulnerable? Do you believe in that?
I've seen that. So my experience is that men typically are slow starting at expressing their emotions.
Hmm.
I also think men, from my not just clinical experience, just like personal experience, are just not as aware of like what's going on in their lives as much as women.
Hmm.
So yes, men are typically not as emotionally vulnerable as my female patients.
Hmm.
And again, this is also personally as well. Women are just naturally more emotionally intelligent. I don't know, they just seem to have a greater sense of awareness of like what's actually going on with them. In some ways, women are more curious about themselves than men are curious about themselves. I don't know, that's my experience.
Interesting. And do you think there's any reason why that is? Do you think that's just science?
I think it's science. I think,
Society also, I feel like, makes women.
I mean, let's think about it from an evolution perspective. You
Mhm.
know, women are the ones giving birth to kids.
Mhm.
Women are more directly in charge of life
Mhm.
itself, that they need to have the tools to take care of a human being because they're typically going to be the most direct engagement with a child, especially in the early periods of their life with breastfeeding.
Mhm.
And so I think women just have that greater awareness of like, this is how you take care of another human being, while men historically have been hunters, building their towns, more hands on work. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And what do you think is something that has surprised you throughout the years while doing anti-psychiatry? Psychiatry.
You know, a lot of people ask me, like, oh, you must get burned out. Oh, like, you have a tough job. It does not feel tough. I'm very inspired by my patients. Like, I see a lot of people get better.
Mhm.
It's fun. I didn't think I would have this much fun practicing psychiatry.
Mhm. Yeah, I was reading this book. It's called Stress Less, Accomplish More. And it has a lot of great tools when it comes to just giving you the life tools to go through life and not be so stressed out. And there's one chapter where it talks about how you do become more empathetic when you're more in tune with who you are and when you meditate. And there's this thing called like mirroring neurons. I don't know if you've heard about that. It's when you kind of get pleasure from other people being in a pleasurable state. And I find that very interesting because I do feel like energy is very contagious. And when someone is doing well, it kind of makes you want to do well. And I definitely understand that. If you weren't doing psychiatry, and I know you're in rabbinical school.
My interview actually is in 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, what inspired you to do that, to apply?
Yeah, I grew up Jewish. I went to a Jewish private school. And I've always noticed I've really enjoyed reading Jewish texts
Mhm.
or Jewish theme books and really enjoyed Kabbalah,
Mhm.
which is Jewish mysticism.
Mhm.
And my work has kind of become more spiritual over time. I try to get patients to go beyond themselves.
Mhm.
I kind of view becoming a rabbi and working with patients that way is more preventative. I want to help people not get to the point where they need to see a psychiatrist.
Mhm.
You know, when they start questioning their life, like I want to find people when they're there rather than like they're super depressed or super anxious. So I just feel like becoming a rabbi is just adding more tools on how to talk about the spirit and the soul and talking about meaning and purpose with not just people that are Jewish, but broader global community. Yes, I may be applying a Jewish lens to it, but I like to think that what I'm going to be learning is going to be helpful to all types of people.
Yes, I love how you mentioned it that way because I feel like spirituality is definitely a big part of growth and healing because when you are able to look at a higher power, whatever it is, it kind of gives you almost like comfort knowing that there's something beyond yourself that is there for you to look back on. And I love going to church and just being spiritual and practicing ways to brighten my light because I feel like we do a lot of things every day that can kind of dim us down. But when we focus towards spirituality or religion or something that can bring out our inner good, I love when we're able to do that and, share that with the world. So we're almost out of time, but I do want to ask you some final questions. If you weren't doing psychiatry, what else do you think you'd want to do with your life?
Become a rock star.
A rock star. Do you have any musical inspiration?
If I was a rock star, I play the guitar and do vocals, I would be a mixture of Prince
Okay.
and Jim Morrison from The Doors. So
Oh, okay. And what are your favorite songs by them?
I love Kiss
Okay.
by Prince, and my favorite song from The Doors.
Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side.
It goes like break on through to the other side. That's
Oh,
the main chorus. So
yeah, I think I know that song. It sounds familiar when you said that. All right. And my other question would be, how would you describe happiness? I know it's kind of hard to describe, but if you could describe it.
happiness
Mhm.
is being connected to yourself and others.
Oh,
I'd say that's the most consistent way of being happy.
yes, that's very beautiful. And what do you think is
And
like
nature. And nature.
nature, connecting to yourself, others, and nature? That's very beautiful. And those are all free ways we can be happy. I feel like a lot of people think you have to buy something, you need something, but no, you really, all you need is yourself, a good friend or family member, and nature. And that's really beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Michael, for joining me today and answering my questions. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to share with us or let us know where we can find you?
Yeah, I just want to, first of all, Megan, thank you so much for inviting me. It was a great conversation, and I loved a lot of things that you shared today as well, your own wisdom. Yeah, just one public service announcement: regulate your cell phone usage. Try not to spend more than half hour, an hour per day on entertainment through screens. And if you are seeking any help, either through therapy or psychiatry, you can check out my clinic, which is www.hope-therapy-center.com.
Yes.
We're treating anyone in California.
Very cute. I love that you talk about hope because that's really all life is, being hopeful. And it's always nice to have something to look forward to. I know when I was feeling really depressed, what really helped was making plans for the future because it just gives you hope and a little bit of something to look forward to. And yeah, our futures are bright and we just don't know it yet. And that's the beauty too. Well, thank you, Michael. I really appreciate you. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my podcast, available on all platforms. And this episode will also be available on iTunes, YouTube, and Spotify, and wherever you watch and listen to podcasts. Thank you again, Michael, and I appreciate you. Have a good one.